In this video, I want to show you how to stain a deck, as well as a lattice fence and a picket fence. For cleaning the wood, I am using a deck brush as well as a stiff scrub brush, a power washer, a garden sprayer. For the cleaner, I mix some TSP and some OxiClean. You could buy ready-made deck cleaner if you choose. For applying the stain, I'm going to go over pretty much every application method. This includes brushes. It's best to choose a stiffer type material so it doesn't bend so easily when you're trying to get into the corners. For rollers, I have a 4-inch, 6-inch, 9-inch, and 18-inch. Regardless of the size, the nap needs to be at least a 1/2 inch long. If it's too small, you won't be able to get into the cracks and the stain will just sit on the surface. A paint extension pole, a paint stirrer, a small bucket for any touch-ups, and I'll also be trying out an airless sprayer. And the most important part of this is the stain that you use. There's a choice of transparent, semi-transparent, and solid. I'm using the solid just because I want it to last longer. There's typically a longer warranty period for a solid stain. You won't be able to see the wood grains, but if it's old aged wood, it will fill in the cracks somewhat. Since my deck is coated in a heavy layer of dirt and debris, I'm just going to give a quick rinse off before I even start putting the TSP or deck cleaner on it. Next step, I'm going to start the actual cleaning portion of the deck. This will include wetting the deck down, then spraying it with the cleaner. Then there's the option of physically scrubbing it or using the power washer, or in my case, I'm going to do both. So again, the steps are I'm going to wet it down just to get the boards moist. Then I'm going to spray it with the TSP, let it sit for about 10 minutes, then scrub it, then spray it with the power washer to both wash it and rinse away the TSP. It's important to let the deck cleaner sit for at least 5 to 10 minutes just to work into it and remove any of the loose dirt and debris or algae that might be there. Also, to make sure you're not scrubbing a dry area, I'm going to work in small sections rather than doing a very large area and hoping that it doesn't evaporate before I could get to it. Now that the deck cleaner has sat for about 5 minutes, I'm going to start scrubbing it. I'm making sure to go with the grain to get the dirt out of the small cracks and crevices. For the fence, I just did my best to get the heavy layer of algae off before power washing it. If I could do this again, I would definitely get a more powerful power washer. It also would have been much faster using a 3000 psi pressure washer. I had to go really slow across the very dirty areas for it to clean it all off. While pressure washing the wood, I found it best to keep about 6 to 12 inches away. You don't want to be too close that it eats away the wood grain, but if you get too far away, it won't clean it well enough. I had to get fairly close to get all of the algae off after doing the first pass on it. So it's been a few days since I washed the deck. I had to take a few days off because it was raining, and I just did a quick rinse down to get any dirt that might be left. So what I'm going to do now is to speed up the dry time, I'm going to use the leaf blower and blow off all the sitting water. And this is what the wood should look like after cleaning it and letting it dry for a few hours. Since I'm waiting for the deck to dry still, I'm going to start on the lattice part of the fence. So to do this, I'm going to try to use the 18-inch roller along with the 4-inch roller and brush and the 9-inch roller for areas that are too small for the 18-inch but too big for the smaller brush and roller. So now I'm going to show you what I think to be the best technique in terms of reducing paint waste. Since I'm not using a transparent stain, I can't spray with a garden sprayer. If I use the airless sprayer, it'll just be way too wasteful. But if I use just these small tools, it'll take way too long. So I'm going to show you what I find to be the best technique here for the lattice. To make sure I don't clog the airless sprayer, what I've done is I've got a window screen and put just a rubber band around it so it holds right here. Now the trash can just to not contaminate it. The bucket's dirty on the other side. set up for spraying on the deck, so this is what I'm going to demonstrate first. I'm going to do the handrails and those bars and pretty much all the vertical posts, everything but the actual decking to start out with. I want to work from the top down, so if I get any splashes I could cover it up when I do the decking. Before I do any of the painting though, I'm going to do a quick blow off with the leaf blower just to get any debris that has settled. So I'm going to do that first regardless of what technique I'm going to use. So I have my deck brush over there. I'm going to be back brushing with that, so I'm going to quickly spray sections and then immediately back brush them, making sure to get the stain into the corners. If the wood is very old and cracked like mine, I found it essential to back brush it no matter which technique I used. Whether I was rolling or spraying it, nothing was able to get into the cracks completely like the brush was. For spraying, I have a 313 tip in the gun right now, so that means it's about a 6-inch fan width, 12 inches away. So I'm holding it about 12 inches away when I'm spraying it, trying to keep the overspray to a minimum. Since I'm using a solid stain, it's way too thick for the 13 tip that I'm using, so there was a lot of fingers and it wasn't spraying correctly. But I was able to make it work because I could back brush it after spraying it. And here's a handrail after spraying it and letting it dry. Now I'm going to demonstrate brushing with the 6-inch deck brush since it's already wet, as well as a 3-inch brush. Now I'm going to demonstrate roller. Pretty much the only roller that'll fit is the 4-inch, so I'm going to use that since it's already wet as well. So now it's time to do the decking. I'm going to demonstrate how to do spraying and rolling at the same time since I have to back roll it. I'm also going to be using the brush to get in between the decking boards to make sure they're staying in there. So for rolling, the technique is the exact same. You would just have a pan with the paint in it. For reference, I'm going to be using a 20-inch extension on the spray gun. Also, I'm going to be switching from the 313 to the 515 that came with the gun. The 313 was definitely too small. I could not get a good spray pattern no matter how high I put the pressure. So this should improve the spray pattern by going to the 15. After doing a test area using the roller, I quickly realized that this was not a feasible way to do this quickly. To keep the same thickness as the sprayer, I would have to only go in small sections, and this would require a lot of time, so I only did it to show for demonstration. Using the roller would still work. You would just have to go back and forth between the decking and the pail many times. Now I'm going to demonstrate spraying the fence and then rolling it. For spraying, I'm going to be back brushing it. For rolling it, I'm also going to back brush it. So I'm only using it as a technique to quickly get paint on. But because the roller has nap, it won't look right. So I need to make the lines from the bristles. I'm going to have to use the brush to give it a good appearance going with the grain of the wood. Quick tip, always get twice as much paint as you think you'll need. This is the second trip I've had to make now. I originally got the 5-gallon bucket, but I'm up to 9 gallons. And this is the finished product. For washing, it took about 10 hours. For applying the stain, probably twice that, around 20 hours. I ended up using about 8 to 9 gallons of the stain. What I learned on this project was I'm definitely going to get a gas-powered pressure washer in the future capable of at least 3000 psi. This would have greatly sped up the pressure washing. Also, I'm never going to buy a property again with a lattice fence or anywhere on the deck. In this video, I'm using a contractor grade sprayer, but I think for the average homeowner, a normal handheld one that could hold about half a gallon of stain in the container will do fine. This will definitely be much faster than using a normal paintbrush or a roller.